Hey, this is the franchise Shane Douglas.
The Walking Weapon, Josh Alexander, and you're watching.
And you're watching.
Yamane, aka WWE.
Here to this podcast and Ollie Harper, my man.
And you are watching Ollie Harper at YouTube.com.
And you're watching the Ollie Harper Show on YouTube.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? It's me, Ollie, aka TNSAttitude, and I am back again here on YouTube.com for all things professional wrestling. Now, today, guys, I have been wanting to make this video for quite a while, actually, as, you know, we are still discussing when the WrestleMania 41 tickets will be going on sale. We have pretty much gone through August, and there's not been any updates, but now it looks like it's probably going to be a September to a probably autumn winter ticket release. But before we get to that, you know, I wanted to today do this video because I was looking through my collector cups and I was actually like, damn, that represents 5 WrestleMania trips. 5 WrestleMania trips, 5 different years, 5 different times in my life, and each of them has its own identity as a trip, and for each of those trips has got its own individuality. And I was like, you know, I've never really done like some of the earlier trip stories and earlier trip memories, but you know, I felt like this would be a great opportunity to actually come on here and be like, you know, what was that my favorite WrestleMania trip? You know, which ones were really the special trips out of all of them? I mean, don't get me wrong, all the WrestleMania trips were great, but you know, which ones really did stand out? And I think that that in its own way was a great idea to make a video. So, you know, looking through these WrestleManias, you know, I mean, like, I've been on YouTube a long time. You know, I started on YouTube in 2010, and the first like WrestleMania trip that I ever did was with a group of guys, and we went out, we all met through the YWC. There was me, there was Sean Blackford, there was a gentleman by the name of Liam, he doesn't do YouTube no more. Then there's Robbie Rebel, I think he occasionally does YouTube, not as frequent as, you know, a few of these cats have fell off now, you know, they don't really do this stuff no more. And then obviously there's my good friend Christian, who of course he doesn't do YouTube either, but you know, and we all would go on a trip to WrestleMania. You know, this would be my first WrestleMania. I believe this was Liam's first WrestleMania, Robbie's second, and Sean's third Mania. Yeah, his third Mania. So, you know, and that in itself, that trip being 2013, that was New Jersey. That was, of course, WrestleMania 29. That was that was a weird trip, you know. That was for me, being the first ever WrestleMania, I think that one really was a special one in a lot of ways in terms of like being at the first ever WrestleMania. I mean, to anybody on here that has never been to WrestleMania or you're going to go for the first time, I can tell you now, when you walk in to that stadium, if you've been able to keep off the social media, you've been able to avoid looking at any of the entrance leaks, any of that stuff, you walk in, and that first moment of taking your seat and looking around that stadium and seeing that entranceway, seeing that everything, it's just crazy. It's fantastic. It's such a feeling. It's goosebumps. It really is. And 29, I really felt I embraced that. You know, I think that was the first WrestleMania where, you know, and I got to see The Rock, which was cool. You know, it was part of a 2-year show that they decided to go the whole twice in a lifetime. Rock, John Cena. They didn't just do Miami, then they went and did, you know, New Jersey the year after. That was a time as well, and I'll talk about this as well, but obviously where you look at the money and the dollar, you know, the dollar was so, like, the pound was so strong to the dollar in those days. I mean, it was insane. Like, this is like pre-Brexit time even, and I think that, like, when UK fans who compare going to those young, you know, those older trips, I mean, I know there's some friends on here that I've met that have been on those older trips that I probably didn't know back in the day. A guy like Simon Crispino, I believe he even went to WrestleMania 29. I'm sure he went to that trip. But you know, the pound and the dollar was so strong. Like, I think 29 was the first year they actually ever did a superstore. And I remember we just walked in and bought what we wanted to buy. It was insane. Like, t-shirts were fairly reasonable. You were just filling a bag with stuff. It was crazy. The thing with this one, though, of course, with how transportation was, you know, this was a time where they had some of the events in New York and they had some of the events in New Jersey. So the Hall of Fame was at Madison Square Garden. The WrestleMania and I believe Raw were in the same part of New Jersey. So that, and I know that the venue that holds Raw, the Izod Center, that's not there no more. That closed down. MetLife, of course, went on to host another Mania after that. But yeah, this Mania was just a really big eye-opener for me in terms of just the aura of all those things. And especially with, I also want to say, like, that some of the, you know, back in those days, I'm not saying I don't mark out meeting wrestlers now, get excited, you know, I just use the term marking out, but getting excited to meet a wrestler. But those days, I think those meets were very special. You know, a little story I'll share, like, this was the time where WWE did VIP, and I know the Fanatics thing, we could go on a different path with that, but these were the times before Fanatics, it was Access, and, you know, we all really tried to get a VIP, but the New York market was ridiculous for this. The demand was crazy, and we all ended up with Ric Flair tickets. But then, of course, sadly, Ric Flair's son would pass away a few weeks before this event, and we were all like, well, he ain't gonna be there, you know, his son's passed away, why would Ric Flair go to this? He wouldn't. And then we would also, you know, we saw Undertaker's VIP, and some of the prices were absolutely ridiculous on eBay. Some were like charging almost like a grand to meet Taker. It was ridiculous what some people's greed was to try and get people to buy them. And I remember when we got to New Jersey and Sean got a text from a friend of his to say that Undertaker had been announced as the replacement for Ric Flair for Thursday Night Access, and that was just crazy good. And it really, I think, a memory that really stands out because of that whole, like, to meet Undertaker of all people, like, this was at a time where Taker really didn't do many signings, he didn't do many public appearances, he didn't break character like he does now with his podcast and his one-man show, but in a lot of ways, he was, it felt special, you know, he had the hat. You know, I've got the vlogs on here. They are in the archives, guys. If you look up WrestleMania 29 trip TNSAttitude here on YouTube, I think that video's got, like, the one of me meeting Taker's got like 15, I think it's got like 19, I think it's got about 19,000 views. It's crazy. It's insane how many views that video got. But yeah, 29 was a very solid first Mania. And then I would say that one of the things that really happened also is I went to 29, and then I remember the year after, there was a bug, and it was like, well, 30, and it was in New Orleans, and it was a thing where we all went again, and apart from, I don't know, Liam did not go to that one, but we all went again, and yeah, it was crazy. You know, New Orleans was a wild place, you know, and everything was cheap there as well. I mean, again, this is pre-Brexit. Pound was strong. I think back then, again, with the New Orleans trip, it was like $1 to 60 something. It was insane. Like, you could, again, it was almost not double. It was like always doubling your money every time you converted. But I remember us really smashing out the VIPs. I remember us getting like Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Robbie met Bruno Sammartino. Sean got like a load as well. And I remember like Sean being really cool with like how he had an idea with Access. And I think that, you know, Sean's mentality with that Mania was really to just try and make sure we met as many people as possible. And I, you know, his mentality was good, you know, even if at that age, and me and him have spoke about this, you know, even at that age, I kind of didn't agree with him, and I was like, you know, I just feel like we could do this and that, but it was at a time where I think Sean just wanted to accommodate, and you know, it took me a long time to really understand that and really understand that his intentions were good, and that is what I feel is the important thing. You know, I think his intentions were good. He just wanted to make sure we met, you know, and we went and meet all the people we could meet, and we did. I mean, we met Roman, we met Seth, we met Dean, and we met some people. Yeah, it was a solid Mania looking back at it. And of course, that was the year that Taker's streak would end as well. Brock beat the streak. That's crazy to say I was there for that, but I was. Mercedes-Benz. Crazy times, New Orleans. Okay, this Mania, Mania 38. Now, I've talked about this Mania, but so you kind of feel like, in a way, you look at this, 29 and 30 was part of a different time, and I don't know if there was this break where we all kind of went away, separated, did our own thing, families, all that stuff, and you know, I would say 38's identity was about getting back into having fun, getting back into living, and just getting on with your life. You know, this came after a global pandemic, and I had got to a stage where I was just loving traveling. I was loving enjoying myself, getting out, going on holidays, working for my experiences, working for my trips, and just having a damn good time. But this WrestleMania, sorry, I just got a supercard alert to tell me that there's a free pack. So you guys can just see that as I record this video. Anyone play WWE Supercard? I've got a really good one right now. It's the SummerSlam event, trying to win that Roddy Piper card. But yeah, WrestleMania 38. This was a very, 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 very good trip. And it really was. I went on this one on my own. This was an independent trip, and over going with other people, this trip really had its own identity because I met other people. I made new friends with this trip. My good friend Chase, who has been on here before, he's been on the 40 vlogs, he's been on the 39 vlogs as well, and he was on the 38 vlogs. I met Chase in Dallas. He sat in the row in front of me at AT&T Stadium. I got on really well with him and his friend Terrence, and we all bonded really, really well. And we remember we went for tacos. You know, it was a good experience with Chase. And yeah, this Mania, I think, will stand out to me as one of my favorite Manias because of one man, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because right now, that is his last match, and I was there for that. In Dallas, Texas, Kevin Owens, Stone Cold, pretty much no holds barred match, and I was there. And that is such an honor to say that was the... Plus, Roman was there, and he unified the belts. Triple H put his boots in the ring. Undertaker did his final thing, plus Hall of Fame. This Vince McMahon made his last WrestleMania appearance. I think that WrestleMania 38 will always, for me, stand out as a very, very key WrestleMania that I was at, and one that I really do feel will always be one of my favorite Manias, without a doubt. This WrestleMania really was a special event. So much significant things happened at this WrestleMania. It was like doors were closing, new doors were opening. That when I say that, I'm talking about the door and eras were ending. You know, this is, you know, obviously Triple H was medically disqualified from competing again due to his heart. So this was the show. He put his boots in the ring and said, that's it. And I was there. It was just wild. It was just such a great WrestleMania. And I would say also, you know, one of the things as well, compared to these two and talking about money and talking about getting around, this was definitely the time where the pound was not as strong to the dollar like previous Manias. And, you know, I remember the T-shirts were all like $35, I want to say, at that time. And I was like, man, they used to be $25. But then again, it had been a few years since we'd gone. But I remember this year, you know, other stuff. I met the late great Bray Wyatt at that WrestleCon during that weekend. Jushin Liger, DDP. There was no actual formal access that year because I still feel that they were really trying to take baby steps in terms of how they wanted to come back with fan interaction after such a big thing with the global pandemic. But you know, this was their WrestleMania after. Okay, so 37 did have fans, but it really wasn't full capacity. UK fans weren't allowed into that WrestleMania at the time. We still weren't allowed in due to the Biden ban. So the travel ban, so that 37 was complete write-off. 36 was empty. That was at the Performance Center. So 38 really was a significant mania for that whole getting back into normality. Special mania to me. And if I could end the video right now and really say 38 was probably my favorite out of all these. But we go on and talking about 39. 39. Oh, wow. How the other half live, yeah? Los Angeles, California, Hollywood. So 39 was WrestleMania and a 30th birthday holiday all in one. And I had planned it to be that. You know, I didn't kind of want this one to just feel very much like I'm just going to go out for 7 days and go home. I went for 10 days to Los Angeles, California. And to this day, I still look back at that and I think, damn, like, I really did bite off more than I could chew, it felt at the time. Just on the basis of, like, how expensive Los Angeles is, how much things cost, the tax. I mean, damn, I did it. But I'll be real with you guys, you know, I had to cut the cloth in other areas, you know, I didn't do as many meets, I didn't go doing as much WrestleCon. We did one session and me and Trey hung out, and Trey, you know, Trey's coming back to YouTube and I want to give him a big shout out because Trey's a great guy. Blueprint Trey on Insta, great guy, good friend of mine. Hopefully we're going to do a little collaboration soon. He'll be at 41 in Vegas, so that'll be fun. But yeah, 39 was a good mania. They were all great manias, but this trip was more about actually taking in the place, taking in LA, taking in Hollywood. I went to the Hollywood sign, it took me like 2 hours to go for the hike. There was just such there was just so much about this one. Seeing just everything, just the whole being in one part of LA, feeling like I was in the movies. It really was. I stayed in Vermont for the first couple of days. I remember having some like tacos and wraps on the street food, on the food trucks, and really taking in the culture. Seeing, of course, Roman and Cody won, and then of course Cody not getting it, and everyone being so disappointed, leaving the event so gutted. Going to Santa Monica Beach, seeing that, going to the Bubba Gump restaurant, having some amazing fish when I was there, trying Stone Cold Steve Austin's beer for the first time was at this mania, having a $22 like over a pint of his beer in the SoFi Stadium. Like, all these memories flood back. Hell in a Cell, you know, I've talked about it on From the Vault, but Hell in a Cell, this was a stacked trip. And I would say this was probably the most expensive WrestleMania trip I did, because I went for 10 days. I was there a week and a half. Went to Universal Hollywood. This one was stacked. And it really was like, I loved it though. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. And, you know, there's an Instagram meme that's out there. It's very, very good. And it says, in life, book the trip, because, you know something? In a year's time, when you've had that trip, you won't really remember how much it cost you. You'll just remember the actual memories. And 39 really feels like that, you know. I can't remember exactly every single thing that I paid on that trip. I know it was expensive, but I remember having a damn good time. I remember being in LA. I remember being in Beverly Hills and going up in doing the tour and all that stuff. You know, there's a vlog on here for that. The WrestleMania 39 trip. Check it out here on YouTube.com on my channel. That one's around maybe 18 episodes. Everything's episodic with me, guys. I always try and document my trips, vlog my trips, and do it more than ever, because we live in a time of streaming and I feel it's important. Content is king, guys. That's what my good buddy Will Kliskey says. Content is King. Finally, WrestleMania 40. And this one was very much like going back to the 30 era, in a sense. It was ironic that I would go with a friend of mine, go with Mark Newton. Good guy. We've known each other a long time. And, you know, I feel in a lot of ways, everything about these trips was all about growth for me as a person. You know, when I went to 29, I heard other people helping book the trips for me, being the lead traveler and all that stuff. By WrestleMania 40, I was the guy in the driver's seat. I was the one getting it all planned, booking everything, getting the hotel, the flights, organizing the money, organizing the meet and greets, making sure we had everything good, ready to go. I know Mark appreciates that, but this, in a lot of ways, was a very, for my own independence and my own individuality of having that experience to be able to accommodate somebody else, cater to somebody else, and really make sure that somebody else had a good time, and I myself have a good time, you know? This is that mania. It felt like I went to these two and learned how to just get it all done myself, and then 40 was the year that I could just go, right, we're off to the races, kidder. So that's kind of it, you know. I mean, 40 was a great trip, you know. We had a good time. Mark helped me get a chair. We met Cody Rhodes, we met Bianca Belair, we went to the Liberty Bell, had some great meals. Mark got to meet Chase, you know, and that's what's so wild about these trips. It's the actual being able to have different worlds collide. You know, Mark's a local cat to me. He lives in Sheffield. I live in Nottingham, and Chase lives in New York. And I've hung out with Chase a couple of years through WrestleMania, but then Mark was able to meet him and Terrence. So that was brilliant. Plus, we got to see Sean, and you know, I'm grateful that me and Sean are on good terms again. You know, and I'll be real. You know, we didn't talk for a number of years. We had a few disagreements in you know, before, and that's kind of in this gap. But we've all grown up. We've all grown up. We've all become wiser. We've all become older. We've all become knowing who we are as people. And I think that it's key to sometimes, you know, we bury hatchets and we move on. And you know, Sean's a friend of mine. I like Sean. He's a good cat. But all in all, 5 years, WrestleMania, good trips. Like I say, if I was to stand out as my favorite wrestling trip or wrestling event, 38. Mainly Austin, personal reason, but Steve Austin. The trip about knowing how I've grown as a person, 40. The trip that I would say was holiday, but reality check of damn how everything is just so expensive in America, and LA is just a different monster. Of course, 39. And then, you know, these two also about early growth, going out with other people, learning who you are, growing as a person, and that's what this is about. You know, it's about different perspectives, and I feel that this video really has probably gone in a different direction than what it was intended to do, but I'm glad that I could do this video, you know, guys. And if anybody out there is going to WrestleMania for the first time, or are planning a PLE, or you're doing something fun and you need an advice, or you just want to talk, hey man, hit me up below this video, you know, I'll try and reply and, you know, chat, whatever. It's cool, guys. But on that note, that is today's video. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. To everybody out there, to everybody that's been with me to WrestleMania, thank you, guys. And yeah, so anyway, guys, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and like, and I'll catch each and every one of you down the road for another video, guys. I'm out.